Welcome back. Today we are working on the E30 that I just announced. That's Morgan right there.
Oh fuck,
That's
didn't know. I don't want to, no. Hold on, restart that, please.
That's my girlfriend right there, Morgan. So this is my E30 as seen in the last video. It is a 1987 BMW 325e. Ignore the I that's on the badging. That's not right. I don't know who badged that, but she does have a 325i right there. So title of the video, obviously we're working on the Cliq tuning E30 kit. So I've got front bumper, side skirts, and rear bumper. We've already done the side skirts and rear bumper to get some practice before kind of showing our method to do it. Because so far what I've seen is most people are either riveting them together or they are like fiberglassing them together or whatever. I've come up with a different method that I think is gonna work really, really well. So what you're gonna need is your main thing that's fusing the two halves together if you have this two-piece kit is JB plastic weld. This stuff says it'll work with fiberglass, and from my experience already with those three pieces, it's worked fantastic. We used something similar on her Cliq tuning front bumper over there. It didn't work as well, so we redid it with the plastic weld, and it's gonna hold together fantastic. So anyway, we've got the plastic weld. We have, this is what I'm gonna be using to kind of mix it, the two parts together and spreading it onto the new bumper. And then this is just my mixing plate, trash plate. And then I've also got some blue painter's tape over there just to kind of hold the parts that the clamps cannot get. You also need clamps. Got anything to say?
I don't like being on camera.
Too bad, get used to it. Okay, so this is a two-part epoxy. So what you do is you pop the cap off, and then we're gonna squirt it out and mix it together, and that'll instantly start the hardening and curing process. So my plan is to do that, mix it with my old wrap tool, my squeegee. We're gonna mix it together and apply it inside of the bumper in all of these spots where they kind of fuse together. And then we're gonna hope for the best. Now, it's worked on the other ones. This one, it should work just as well. It's even got some texture on here, so I'm pretty hopeful of this one. And now, as soon as you squirt it out, it's gonna start curing, so you wanna work kind of fast if you can. Now, before I was just running it on the back side of the packaging, but it starts going everywhere, so get something like a bowl or a plate that you can mix into so it doesn't start going everywhere. It kind of will. So we're gonna take some here on the tip of this squeegee and just start rubbing it in. Get a little bit in here. This spot fits really tight on these, like it snaps right together, so you don't need a lot in there because you don't want it to stick out much. So I'm gonna also throw some on here as well. Take our two halves and slot them together. So you can see I'm just clamping all over, trying to get this to not go anywhere. So we're gonna take some painter's tape and just wherever we can get this flush together and also the depth correct, where it is like squished right up against each other, we're gonna throw some tape. So I'm noticing like this guy obviously fits so well, even on her bumper is the same thing. So just to keep it together while I flex some of the other parts of the bumper, I'm just gonna throw a layer of tape on there. All right, so as you can see, lots of painter's tape holding it where I can't get clamps on it. We made sure that it was pressed tightly together, like sandwich this way, so that the gapping on it, if you run your hand over the two halves, it's pretty smooth. It'll require a little bit of sanding in some areas, but where the clamps are and where we got it super tight, you can barely even feel the difference. So on that rear bumper, it went together super, super well. The side skirts I did a while ago, and they had quite a big lip on them. Like right here, can't get it super great, so I'm gonna sand it down. And this is what it looks like from this side. So you can see a lot of it's just oozing out. We used quite a bit, but I just wanted to make sure that there was plenty of coverage. And then when you're done, you've got a super smooth one-piece side skirt and bumpers. So I just pulled the blue tape off of the rear bumper, and I don't know if you can hear it, but there's hardly any change in the depth. It went together super, super tight, as you can see, which is exactly what I want. There's a little bit of a gap here in the middle, but that's just how it was made, I guess. I couldn't quite get it together, but everything went together super tight. And like I said, they're very, very flush. All right, we're all done. All 4 pieces are together. I've been sanding for a while, just getting them extra smooth. So that's why it's nice to be able to just put them together and have them be flush already, because then it's less sanding. But yeah, they are very smooth, all 4 pieces. So next up, we're gonna actually go and mount them on the car. All right, it is now, I think, like a week later. Body kit sitting over here, and then against this wall here with our secret wrap color right there in the red box. We'll be looking at that in the next video. But right now we're gonna mount the body kit. I have an early model car. The Cliq tuning body kit is made for a late model E30. However, there are some ways to kind of finesse it and make it work. If you don't know, the early models use this style of bumper. So it actually has some shocks behind it. So this whole chrome and black trim piece can move in and out if you got in a small accident. Now, when we put the new bumper on, we're getting rid of these corner lights, the plastic trim here, and this entire bumper here. This is where it gets kind of difficult. You can either get a late model bumper, and it makes it a lot easier because it should just kind of slip right on and fit pretty well. And the other option is what we're going to be doing today. It's something that I personally came up with. I haven't seen anybody else do it. And that method I'm going to show you, we already did it on my girlfriend Morgan's car right here. You're going to see this blue pool noodle. Now, really odd option, right? You're probably thinking, like, how does this work? If you look, we have it zip tied right above where those shocks mount. They mount right in here out to your front bumper here. We kind of set these up on top, and it provides the perfect gap so that when you slip this top edge of the bumper in, it actually rides right on top and squishes up against this colored trim here. It fits so well. I'll insert a picture. You can see just how flush it looks. It's pristine. The other way we're going to be mounting it to actually make sure it stays on, because if you were to hit the brakes, it would fall off. We're going to be using these pop clips here. So there's already holes in the bumper that work perfect for this. But basically, put these guys in, adjust the length. We're going to be drilling a hole in just about right here, and it'll hold it on. I plan to wrap over it so it's kind of hidden but still functional. So let's get started. We got to start by taking this bumper off. I'm already missing the rear bumper, so we're good there. And then side skirts just bolt on. There's nothing to remove. So let's jump into it. So it should just pull right out. There we go. So now to pull these guys off, it's just some 8 mils all the way down, and then there's some hardware on the sides holding it, but it's pretty straightforward. So we're gonna knock those out real quick, and then it's pretty much ready to start test fitting the bumper and seeing what we need to cut. If you do have a lower valence, there is a lot more hardware, but I sold mine a long time ago, so I have no way to show how that comes off. But basically poke your head under there, you'll see all the bolts and kind of figure it out as you go. So I know before even putting this on that we're gonna have to trim these vents down, as well as most likely cut off the tow hooks. So yeah, just like I suspected, we are hitting those tow hooks. And I don't have a grinder, so I'm gonna have to go pick up a grinder and cut those off real quick. Shit. I'm just gonna use the grinder. The way I'm doing it is I'm eyeballing the top edge of the bumper and the bottom edge, You can see I just cut it flush with those, and that should be enough. Pretty good. Let's throw the pool noodle in there. See if we can get it to sit a little bit easier, a little better. So we're gonna take our pool noodle, and honestly, it just fits so well. But we're just gonna throw some zip ties around it and try to loop it in where we can. Okay, so you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 zip ties ran through already pre-existing holes. So there we go. All 3 holding it on. We may have to cut some of the excess off because you can most likely see it through here. So I'll probably chop them a little shorter. I do plan to get some lights eventually, but for now we're gonna run it without. Good enough. You get the idea. Takes a little bit of finesse. Still need some adjustment, but there we go. The bumper is basically on. It almost can't fall off as is, but it does rattle around. So we are gonna put those pop clips in the sides. You can see just how tight this fits. Little bit of finessing, bump it up 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch there. But you can see along the front with the pool noodle, it's holding it nice and tight. So I've got these push pin style mounting hardware for the bumper. And then if you come to your bumper and you measure exactly 3.5 inches in and center it on this line, the ball end of that rod is right behind that. A little bit higher because the bumper's sagging just a teeny bit, but literally centered in the plastic spot where the normal trim would go, and 3.5 inches straight in. That's where you want to drill. All right, it's a little bit later. Been making some minor adjustments to both these pockets as well as just where I drilled this hole. I had to go up just slightly because I can't get the gapping perfect with just how the fiberglass is. Yeah, you're supposed to just be able to push it on and it'll catch, and then you push it and it releases. But there we go. I got both sides mounted. So this is how the bumper is gonna look, final fit. All right, so I just test fit the side skirt. I made sure, the most important part is to make sure that this is right where it needs to go. And then you'll notice over here, I drew a line on the side skirt. That dictates where the door is because a lot of this tucks up under the door in this gap here. However, back here, because there's not a rear door or anything, you do have to shave some of this back. So I'm gonna go ahead and just notch this essentially all the way down until it fits in there nice and snug. Forgot to film, but we got one of the side skirts mounted. I decided it'd be a little too hard to try and get some riv nuts into this fender well just because the metal here is so thin. So I decided to just do what everyone else does. Throw 2 in the side up there and then 1 in the rear fender. I was gonna do 2, but it didn't line up and I didn't want to re-drill it, and it's plenty sturdy. So we're gonna roll with just the 1 right there. All right, next step to mounting this rear bumper. I went ahead and threw some riv nuts in this location for the studs for the sides of the bumper. Now I measured straight off of the existing hole, which I tried to put a riv nut in, then realized it's super far away from the end. So I moved it over, but I went over and then just barely up a tad, and it's straight above the bumper mount below it. Did that on both sides so that when I go to put the bumper on, it's inside where that trim piece normally would go. So I found some flat stock laying around with these pre-drilled holes. So we're gonna try and use this. Basically, I somewhat measured how tall it needed to be and then bent it. I think I'm just gonna riv nut them in, and then right here will be where the bumper rests. Just like that. Pretty good. We're gonna use some Loctite. Oh my God. Hopefully this transfers. There we go. We got it. So that's where I'm gonna drill for my pin. All right, so now I've got my, let me spin it over. All right, so now I've got my 3/4 inch bit. It's like the exact size you need. And there you go. That's like perfect placement right in the middle. It's not too close to the edge, but it's not too far away. So hopefully this will keep it exactly where I want the bumper to sit. Here's how we're looking. Front bumper fits super well. The side skirts fit phenomenal as well. But the rear bumper, it's got these waves in it because the sides want to flare out like this. And I have to push them in and clip them on both sides. And so it's putting all this stress on the fiberglass and causing it to do the wave.